Riddance of Ill Will. Ill will or hatred is one of the three poisons. In Buddhism, greed, anger, ignorance. This is one of the three fires, which burn in the mind, until allowed to die for fueling. Anger manifests itself in a very crude manner, destroying the practitioner in a most effective way. To subdue anger and resentment, we must develop a compassionate mind. According to Buddhist psychology, the mental factor of aversion is always linked to the experience of pain. One may be greedy and happy, but never angry and happy at the same time. Anyone who cultures hatred, anger, or malice, nurses revenge or keeps alive a grudge is bound to experience much suffering, for he has laid hold a very potent source of it. Those who exercise their hatred on others, as in killing, torturing, or maiming, may expect birth in a state, compared in the scriptural simile, to a pit full of glowing situations, where they will experience feelings which are exclusively painful, sharp, and severe. Only in such an environment will they be able to experience all the misery which they, by their own cruelty to others, have brought upon themselves. The Buddha taught, bandits who steal merits are of no comparison to hatred and anger, because when hatred and anger arise, inevitable innumerable karma will be created. Immediately thereafter, hundreds and thousands of obstructions will appear, masking the proper teachings of enlightenment, burying and dimming the Buddha nature. Therefore, a thought of hatred and anger had just barely risen. 10,000s of karmic doors will open immediately. It is to say, with just one thought of hatred, one must endure all such obstructions and obstacles. Ill will or anger is an emotional response to something that is inappropriate or unjust. If one does not obtain what one is greedy, can lead to anger. Anger is an emotion involved in self-protection. However, according to Buddhist doctrines, anger manifests itself in a very crude manner, destroying the practitioner in a most effective way. The Buddha makes it very clear that with a heart filled with hatred and animosity, a man cannot understand and speak well. A man who nurtures displeasure and animosity cannot appease his hatred. Only with a mind delighted in harmlessness and with loving kindness towards all creatures in him, hatred cannot be found. Thus, according to the Buddha's teachings, in the Dharmapada Sutra, to subdue anger and resentment, we must develop a compassionate mind by meditating on loving kindness, pity, and compassion. According to Buddhism, the basis of anger is usually fear. For when we get angry, we feel we are not afraid anymore. However, this is only a blind power. The energy of anger, if it's not so destructive, it may not be of any constructive. In fact, extreme anger could eventually lead us even to taking our own life. Thus the Buddha taught, when you are angry at someone, let's step back and try to think about some of the positive qualities of that person. To be able to do this, your anger would be reduced by its own. Anger is a fire that burns in all human beings, causing a feeling of displeasure or hostility toward others. Angry people speak and act coarsely or pitiless, creating all kinds of sufferings. Of the three great poisons of greed, hatred, and ignorance, each has its own unique evil characteristic. However, of these poisons, hatred is unimaginably destructive and is the most powerful enemy of one's cultivated path and wholesome conducts. The reason is that once hatred arises from within the mind, thousands of karmic obstructions will follow to appear immediately, impeding the practitioner from making progress on the cultivated path and learning of the philosophy of Buddhism. Therefore, the ancient virtuous beings taught, one vindictive thought just barely surfaced. 10,000 doors of obstructions are all open. Supposing while you were practicing meditation, and your mind suddenly drifted to a person who has often insulted and mistreated you with bitter words. Because of these thoughts, you begin to feel sad, angry, and unable to maintain peace of mind. Thus, even though your body is sitting there quietly, your mind is filled with afflictions and hatred. Some may go so far as leaving their seat, stopping meditation, abandoning whatever they are doing, and getting completely caught up in their afflictions. Furthermore, there are those who get so angry and so depressed to the point where they can't eat and sleep for their satisfaction. Sometimes they wish their wicked friend to die right before their eyes. Through these, we know that hatred is capable of trampling the heart and mind, destroying people's cultivated path, and preventing everyone from practicing wholesome deeds. Thus the Buddha taught the way to tame hatred in the Lotus Sutra as follows: use great compassion as a home, use peace and tolerance as the armor, use all the dharma of emptiness as the sitting throne. We should think that, when we have hatred and afflictions, the first thing that we should be aware of is we are bringing miseries on ourselves. The fire of hatred and afflictions internally burns at our soul and externally influences our bodies, standing and sitting restlessly, crying, moaning, screaming. In this way, not only are we unable to change and tame the enemy, but also unable to gain any peace and happiness for ourselves. Zen also helps us balance anger by contemplation of loving kindness. When angry states of mind arise strongly, balance them by developing feelings of loving kindness. If someone does something bad or gets angry, do not get angry ourselves. If we do, we are being more ignorant than they. Be wise. Keep compassion in mind, for that person is suffering. Fill our mind with loving kindness, as if he was a dear brother. Concentrate on the feeling of loving kindness as a meditation subject. Spread it to all beings in the world. Only through loving kindness is hatred overcome. In meditation practice, anger is an internal formation, and since it makes us suffer, we try our best to get rid of it. Psychologists like the expression, getting it out of your system. As a Buddhist, you should generate the energy of mindfulness and take good care of anger every time. It manifests through meditation practice. Our anger is us, and our compassion is also us. To meditate does not mean to fight. In Buddhism, the practice of meditation should be the practice of embracing and transforming, not of fighting. When anger comes up in us, we should begin to practice mindful breathing right away. Breathing in, I know that anger is in me. Breathing out, I am taking good care of my anger. If you don't know how to treat yourself with compassion, how can you treat another person with compassion? When anger arises, continue to practice mindful breathing and mindful walking to generate the energy of mindfulness. Continue to tenderly embrace the energy of anger within you. Anger may continue to be there for some time, but you are safe because the Buddha is in you, helping you to take good care of your anger. The energy of mindfulness is the energy of the Buddha. When you practice mindful breathing and embracing your anger, you are under the protection of the Buddha. There is no doubt about it. The Buddha is embracing you and your anger with a lot of compassion. In the Dharmapada Sutra, the Buddha taught, one should give up anger. One should abandon pride. One should overcome all fetters. No suffering befall him who calls nothing his own. He who controls his anger, which arises as a rolling chariot, he is a true charioteer. Other people are only holding the rein. Conquer anger by love. Conquer evil by good. Conquer stingy by giving. Conquer the liar by truth. One should guard against the bodily anger or physical action, and should control the body. One should give up evil conduct of the body. One should be of good bodily conduct. One should guard against the anger of the tongue. One should control the tongue. One should give up evil conduct in speech. One should be of good conduct in speech. One should guard against the anger of the mind. One should control the mind. One should give up evil conduct of the mind. One should practice virtue with the mind. According to the Surangama Sutra, Book 8, the Buddha reminded Ananda about the habit of hatred as follows. Habits of hatred, which give rise to mutual defiance. When the defiance binds one without cease, one's heart becomes so hot that it catches fire, and the molten vapor turns into metal. From it produced the mountain of knives, the iron cudgel, the tree of swords, the wheel of swords, axes and halberds, and spears and saws. It is like the intent to kill surging forth when a person meets a mortal enemy, so that he is roused to action. Because these two habits clash with one another, there come into being castration and hacking, beheading and mutilation, filing and sticking, flogging and beating, and other such experiences. Therefore, the thus come ones of the 10 directions look upon hatred, and name it sharp knives and swords. Bodhisattvas should avoid hatred, as they would their own execution. Buddhist practitioners should always remember that Buddhist teaching, Buddhism, is easy to say, but not easy to do or to practice. Once again, we, Buddhist practitioners, should always remember that to let go these ill wills is not an easy thing to do. They are not easy to be eliminated in 1 or 2 days. But when we want to follow the Buddha's path, we have no other choice but to let these ill wills go. Once we are able to let them go, it also means that we have already pushed away great obstacles on our own path of cultivation.